And welcome back. Fortunately, we're going to be reviewing something fairly decent. Now,
just set that over there.
Yeah, that might be better if you do keep it away. The movie.
Oh yes, Sinister. 2012, starring Ethan Hawke as a sort of third-rate writer that at one point had one single hit and is trying to reclaim his days of glory. He is a true crime writer. And the first time we tried to watch this movie, I don't know if it was because I was just completely exhausted or from an exorbitant amount of wine or from a combination of the two, but I fell asleep and really didn't give it a second thought and just sort of dismissed it and was like, okay, well, that was kind of boring. And then we watched it again recently, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking. For modern horror films, this is one that it really surprised me. From the very opening shot, it kind of sets, and I know a lot of other people have said, oh my god, the opening shot, but it's true, the opening shot of this film sets the pace for the entire movie, and it's very off-putting for those of us that are horror buffs, and it would be really disturbing for people that are not really horror fans. It opens with a tree and some people standing with nooses around their neck, and then all of a sudden, and it's a Super 8 film, and all of a sudden, almost as in slow motion, a branch breaks slowly as these people start rising and kicking their heels, and ultimately dying.
Fun stuff.
Oh yeah, and the movie, the writer moves into this house, which apparently the murders happened just outside. So when his wife says, did we move into a house where the murders took place a couple of things down the road? He genuinely was like, no, not at all. And then later in the film,
You find out you move into the house in which the murders... so, no, he didn't technically lie.
Mm-mm.
No.
Because it didn't happen in the house.
Mm-mm. And the wife technically asked down the road, so, I mean, he didn't lie to her.
No. You do find out later, well, he finds in the attic a little box full of Super 8 canisters with weird names like Sleepy Time or Lawn Mower or Barbecue, and starts playing these films when he sets up his office. There's a series of murders that he's trying to write about. Well, on the film are the murders of these people.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, there's not many things, especially in modern horror or horror in general, that really creep me out. But the way this movie was filmed, it really does, from the very beginning of the movie, sort of, it puts you on edge. Because it's, I mean, from jump, that's weird. And I think it's because it's that grainy Super 8, and then the soundtrack is amazing. The soundtrack is creepy, and the soundtrack is amazingly creepy. And sometimes we play it here to, cook dinner or whatever, because we're, those kind of people. But the soundtrack is absolutely amazing. The film really doesn't get slow at all,
No,
like I thought it did when I was tired.
It doesn't. It keeps the same pace throughout the film, but it's not a dragging or slow pace.
No, it really does build and build and build. There are a few jump scares, because it's a modern movie. There are a few jump scares in this film, and while Aubrey and I despise jump scares, because they're way overused, this film only has a couple, and they're perfectly placed.
Yes.
And they're not just random, oh my god, that was just to creep you out or to shock you. They actually impress upon your mind certain images that you can't get out of your head. You find that there's a set of drawings that go with each one of the murders, and it'll have, like Mommy, Timmy, blah 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 blah, and there's always this Mr. Boogie in the drawing somewhere. you find out about Mr. Boogie later, although he's never actually mentioned in the film.
No, he's not.
Not by that name.
No.
Boogity!
Oh wait, wrong thing.
Yeah, no, not Mr. Boogity, which we have got to review because those are just fun. But Mr. Boogie, as Ethan Hawke's character is really putting these films and really slowing them down, hooking them up to his laptop. In each one of these murders, almost as sort of, kind of like the whole Slender Man thing, the way that took at, where, and then there was Slender Man for just a split second, and you have to, pause the frame. Mr. Boogie shows up in every single one of these. One of the creepiest ones to me was the drowning, where the water in the pool, they're all dead in the water in the pool, and then you just see the side of his face. Mr. Boogie is actually a creepy-looking villain. And just like in Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, where you didn't really see Freddy that much, and Freddy was actually fucking scary in the first movie, Mr. Boogie is this way because he doesn't speak, he doesn't build puppets, like Insidious.
Or listen to Tiny Tim.
Whilst building puppets.
I like Tiny Tim, so maybe, I don't know what that says about me, but...
Tiny Tim was, yeah. Anyway, Mr. Boogie, it just sounds so silly saying that. For such a creepy... Oh, it's Mr. Boogie! For such a creepy... Now, I've seen pictures of the Mr. Boogie makeup on the internet.
And he does not look like Darth Maul, unlike other films.
No, and he also doesn't really look that creepy when you see it without all the lighting and the ambiance and everything. But anyway, we're not going to give too much away, but there are a couple of scenes that we do want to talk about that stood out because... And it's not really giving the plot away. I mean, the plot is fucking amazing, and there's a really cool twist at the end that you really don't see coming. Some parts of the movie were predictable, especially to horror fans, but other parts that really throw you out of left field. I love Deputy So-and-so, and they refer to him as Deputy So-and-so. But anyway, I really like the film. One of the moments that stands out to you.
One of the moments that stands out most to me, and it's one of the most insignificant parts of the movie, it's the wife, and I believe she's talking to her husband about, having issues with the police, because with his first novel, some of the stuff that came out about the local police department kind of irritated.
Was less than generous. It pissed off a lot of police officers to the point where no matter which town that they moved to, they would have issues with the local police. And there's this one point where the wife says, even driving, something to the extent of, even driving 5 miles under the speed limit, I still managed to get pulled over, or something like that. And for some reason, every time I drive anywhere, that line is always running through my head. One of the there's so many creep moments that I actually really did like, where they really did up the creep factor on it. I love... There's a scene where Ethan Hawke's character is going through the films, and some reviews have lambasted this and said, oh, it was stupid and blah, blah, blah. And yes, realistically, this would not happen. And it was kind of trite, but I actually liked it. The scene where he's going through the films and he's got the laptop of the pool scene, and then he does the close-up of Mr. Boogie's face and he's looking over here, and then because you kind of know that it's coming.
Yeah.
But you see Mr. Boogie kind of go into the camera, and right as Ethan Hawke turns, he kind of goes back. That I kind of liked. I love when the children start stalking him around the house, and rather than being your typical ghosty figures that really fuck with, it's almost perfect the way it was timed, because you'll have this little child standing there right here, and you see it, he doesn't see it. But the child knows when he's going to turn, and right as 2 seconds before he turns, she dips off. And you just see, or standing 2 feet behind you, and then he turns around, but right as he's turning around, the child ghost dips into a corner. Really creepy.
Yeah. I love the scene. Should we tell them about the son?
Mm-hmm.
the son has
Night terrors.
And he sleepwalks.
He sleepwalks.
He sleepwalks. And there's one scene in the kitchen.
Mm-mm.
The box. Where's that box?
The box. They're moving. It was like the day after moving.
Yeah.
It's like right in the foyer, because he hears this weird noise and he wakes up. And this is right after discovering the box. Mm-hmm. And well,
it's kind of hard. It almost looked like he had a seizure or something, the way he was coming in. Basically, you walk into the room, and the son's in the box, and there's all this weird shit going on, and...
He pops up upside down, kind of like the spider walk from The Exorcist, but actually creepy.
Yeah.
And screams. And if you don't know anything about night terrors, it's a bizarre medical condition where you really don't... It's like a combination of sleepwalking and nightmares, and you don't know that you're asleep, and if someone tries to startle you real quick, they let out blood-curdling screams, and this child lets out this scream that you would think he was possessed by something like hardcore, not, I'm Pazuzu. No offense, Pazuzu. But, and, they take the child... But and that's sort of nonsensical because it really has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't.
But it builds that just uneasy not rightness of this movie.
Yeah. I think its intention, that scene was to, add to the discomfort of the viewer.
Oh, yeah.
To get you prepared for more weird...
Yeah. And I will say, as avid buffs of horror films, I wouldn't say creeped out, because it takes a lot to creep me out, but I will say that from the moment this movie starts, there is, from the viewer, you really do feel uneasy.
A little bit.
There are parts of this movie where you will actually catch, or at least I did, catch myself breathing a little bit deeper, not because you're expecting some crazy stupid jump scare, but just simply because when you're discovering this crap as the main protagonist is, and you're trying to put two and two together, and he's trying to put two and two together, and try as you might, the writers did a great job, because some of it is predictable, but you really, the first time you watch this, you really are not going to piece this all together. Which is really funny, because at one point of the film, he finds another reel of film, or several pieces of other footage that's like uncut, and it shows you what happens after the main part of the murders, and you see something that we don't really want to give out if you haven't seen this movie.
You can't do that.
But I actually really, really do like this film. I was very surprised, especially after the last two films that we reviewed, and let me just say again, on Killer Cart, we actually, the director of the film, messaged us on our Facebook, on the BooVille TV Facebook page. He took it in strides. He knew that we weren't just being dicks and lambasting the film.
And to correct ourselves, it was FSU, and for that film, they did actually have professional equipment, yet everything else was no budget.
Yeah, everything else was no budget, but they did have professional equipment. He was very kind-hearted and actually said that he wished more people, that our review would be seen by more people. We still do stick by what we said by Rubber. Now, granted, anybody who's going to take the time to make a film, I have to give you props.
Yes.
Because, for God's sakes, we like Psyched by the 4D Witch and, Monsters Crash the Pajama Party.
Why we like it?
Because, I don't know. I know why I like it. But Rubber, we stick by what we said on the film in general. But getting near the end of this, because this movie, I honestly could, spend a whole hour and a half talking about the ins and outs of this film.
Oh, and speaking of this particular film, they're actually making a sequel to it, which we're excited for.
It actually comes out this month.
Does it?
On the 21st of August.
I did not know that.
Yes, the 21st of August, Sinister 2. I've seen the trailers, and I've read some of the plot-based. It actually sounds like it might be a cool sequel, and normally I don't like sequels. Incidentally, the Box of Dread that we will be getting in August and doing the unboxing of here is both Nightmare on Elm Street and Sinister 2 themed. So I'm really hoping that we actually get a print of Mr. Boogie. Like, that would be really cool. And it would be really cool to get the 7th box, because it's all Nightmare on Elm Street. But I seriously doubt we're going to get the 7th box.
We're not that lucky.
We're not that lucky.
We're not lucky at all.
No, we're not lucky at all.
Ever.
Because no one ever just watches, this crap and says, I really like what they're doing and I'd really like to sponsor them. And here, quit your jobs and actually do this for a living and make BooVille TV like an actual real, it is a real thing, but make it, an actual funded thing. Because that would rock.
No, we're so unlucky. I have never won anything before in my life.
Me either. No. I won a mini stroke one time, but that really,
you can't really win that. It's kind of not a thing you would want.
Well, that's true. But Sinister. I could go on and on and on. And I'm not going to, because y'all are, oh my God, shut up and just get in the end. Skull rating for me, I love this film, but I'm only going to give it a 7. And the reason I'm going to give it a 7 is because, I'm a Nazi when it comes to horror films. I love the fact this was, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to give it an 8.5. And the reason I'm going to, I know, for me, I'm going to give it an 8.5 because Sinister was one of the few movies within the past 10 years that actually managed to elicit tense, bordering on creepy emotions from me. Simply because it's the grainy Super 8 footage and you don't really know. It really looks like a snuff film that the murder scenes look like someone actually held a Super 8 camera and was filming bullshit like this. And what makes it even more creepy is that one of the murders happened in 1998, but it was filmed on a Super 8 camera. And that just is unsettling.
Well, some demons like to make puppets and other demons have a fondness for retro technology.
Speaking of demons, this is an important plot point that I will give out. The actor that plays Gomer Pyle in Full Metal Jacket and on Law & Order Criminal Intent is in this film as a professor of like occult studies. And I can't remember now, Grethor, the name of this demon. There are certain sigils that are placed on all of the murder scenes, and it's basically this obscure deity that people would worship, that the drawings and stuff, supposedly, he would elicit people and could draw them into the drawings. And that's kind of important to the plot point. Which I'm assuming that would be Mr. Boogie. But for me, an 8.5. I'm really looking forward to seeing the sequel. I wouldn't put Sinister on the Halloween season rotation, but I would say that it's a good Friday night film, Saturday night film when you're lounging around your crypt with your significant other. Make some popcorn, make a nice dinner, and watch this. This would be good for the beginning of like horror movie night with your friends. But yeah, 8.5, solid 8.5 for me. I really, really enjoy this film a lot, and really hoping in Box of Dread this month we actually at least get some like a Mr. Boogie print or something to frame on the wall, because it's just, he's creepy and it's a cool, creepy movie.
I'm going to have to actually just give it an 8 out of 10. There were some scenes that were a little bit predictable. I don't know if I was also maybe a little bit on the tired side, but there were a few scenes that were kind of on occasion dull and a little slow to me. But other than that, I absolutely loved it. It was really, really good. I didn't find any bit of it creepy.
I was going to ask you if any of it kind of elicited that.
It wasn't creepy, and it didn't really put me off, but there were just some scenes that were like, that's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, a lot of really weird.
That's super weird. Wow. Oh, yeah, that's really, really weird. Ugh. But there was nothing that really unnerved me or made me uneasy or anything like that. Because that's really, really hard to do because I'm really fucking crazy.
Yeah, we are. What about the end? Because that...
The end, I wasn't expecting the end whatsoever.
Yeah, the end I did not see coming, and we're pretty good about, within the first 5 minutes of a movie, pegging, oh, this is how this is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we were right. But yeah, Sinister, go. If you have not seen this movie by now, you have to.
Go do it.
Put it on your list of, titles that are recommended, which at some point we might need to do. Like, our top 100 horror films that you must see.
That's a lot.
It's a long list. Not really. Not for us.
It's a lot of words to read.
It's going to take a lot of us arguing because we're going to include classics and moderns and slashers and, Well, I don't know. We might come closer to the Halloween season. We might do, in addition to what we're already planning on doing for, the top films you must watch for the Halloween season, we may begin a series, like a separate BooVille, like a separate series of the top 10 of each of our favorite genres.
Yeah.
And then discussing why. So, and we'd still look for the skits, look for the interviews. As you saw, we posted on our Facebook page yesterday, Guella DeVille is actually put a little teaser for her show that's going to be up. Check her out. Check our Facebook channel out if you haven't. Facebook page. Type in BooVille TV and like us. Follow us. Subscribe to this channel. And we will continue to bring you the best in spooky things and news and tales from the weird and movie reviews and product reviews and just a whole gaggle of ghoulish fun. So, on behalf of us here at BooVille TV, I'm Sean.
And I am Aubrey.
And you've just been watching a review of Sinister on BooVille TV.